What's going on, everybody? David Tarte here, coming at you with another YouTube video. Today's gonna be a little bit different, a little bit more educational. Specifically want to talk about how to maximize your time in the gym to make sure that you're not wasting your time. I've been in the gym for 5+ years now. I've been a trainer now for over 2 years, and I feel as if I've built a decently respectable physique, a physique that I think is very naturally attainable for 99% of people, and it really just came as a result of consistency and just everything that I've learned over the last 5 years. I definitely literally made every single mistake in the book, and so many things, like literally just thinking back, so many things I could have dialed in so much better. And hopefully if you're watching this video, you can avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into. So let's go ahead and let's get straight into it. One thing to keep in mind is, as a natural lifter, the majority of your gains are gonna come in those first 1 to 3 years, or the newbie gains as they call it. And if you can make sure that you are optimizing as much as you can in those first 1 to 3 years, that'll ensure that you're building a really strong foundation for the years to come. And I think a lot of us, especially me, that first year is spent just learning the form, learning how to maneuver the gym, learning how to have good gym etiquette, and just like, you're just fresh, right? You don't really know what you're doing. You don't really know how to structure your workouts in a way that are conducive towards muscle growth. And I think a lot of people nowadays, they go into the gym and they might do this exercise and then that exercise, and they'll do 2 sets over here, 1 set here, and they might do 3 sets of 12 with a weight that's too light. And there's really just no structure to it. And my goal with this video is to hopefully help some of y'all to have that structure starting today, so that you can start seeing more gains today and hopefully achieve your dream physique a lot faster. So this starts with having a good program, right? Or some form of organization that is gonna allow you to be consistent and also allow you to track progress over a long period of time. And in my opinion, the more control you have over as many variables as possible, the more progress you're going to see. Which means if you can do a good job of tracking literally everything from how many reps to how many sets to what you did that day, and everything from like how much rest, like all that stuff, it's just gonna be data that you can then use in the future. And I'm gonna show y'all here in a second how I track it myself. But the first thing that you wanna figure out is, what split do you wanna do? And this is one of the most overwhelming things as a beginner, because you don't know the difference, not even as a beginner, but also some advanced lifters. You don't know the difference between like the different splits and what they do and what the purpose is. And for me personally, when I first got into the gym, I was doing a push-pull leg split from day one, and it was way too much for me. It was way too much volume. I was sore all the time. I wasn't recovering, really wasn't seeing as much progress as I could have seen. So I think for a beginner, a 3-day-a-week full body or a 4-day-a-week full body split is really good. Maybe if you're in the gym for like 2 to 3 years, push-pull legs could be really good. The main thing to keep in mind though is that there's not really a one-size-fits-all split, because a lot of it's going to depend on your daily life, your lifestyle, how many days you can realistically get into the gym. Now, if I had all the time in the world and I had the ability to do whatever I wanted, I would probably do a 5-day-a-week split, maybe a variation on push-pull legs, but really tailor it towards my strengths and weaknesses. But whatever split you choose, you wanna make sure that you are hitting each muscle group at least 2 times per week. And I think this is a good sweet spot to really see maximum muscle growth. Ideally, maybe 10, 15 to 30-ish, 30 on the really high end of sets per week. Split across 2 workouts tends to do really well. Now, the benefit of a 3-day full body split is that you are hitting each muscle 3 days per week, or even 4 days per week if you're doing a 4-day full body split, but you're only doing maybe 3 to 5 sets for that specific workout. But in the end, it ends up evening out. For me personally, my split currently is, I have a day of chest and shoulders, I have a day of arms, I have a back day, and then I have a day that is shoulders and chest, and 1 leg day, because legs are a strong suit on me. So what that does is, for me, I'm trying to focus on my chest and shoulders. And so it's gonna allow me to hit those muscles 2 times per week. But then on my back day and my leg day, they tend to be longer, because that's the only workout I'm doing the entire week for that muscle group. So the volume needs to be higher on that specific workout. But the main thing to keep in mind is that I have a goal and I have a plan, and sticking to that plan week after week, month after month is going to be a really great way to make sure that I'm seeing progress. So whatever you decide to do, whether it be 3 days, 5 days, 6 days, full body, upper, lower, it's all fine, and it can all allow you to put on muscle on your frame. Just make sure you stay consistent. Make sure you stay consistent with it. Don't switch it up every week. I do recommend having specific days that you go to the gym, and just making sure that you are maintaining that consistency is really gonna ensure that you're building a framework for the future, and you're really building those good habits that are gonna allow you to be consistent in the future, right? And that brings me to my next point, which is exercise selection. And now this is somewhere where a lot of people go wrong as well, right? We've all seen the person that they go into the gym and one week they're doing a bench press, the next week they're doing, a decline, whatever, dumbbell press, and then they're doing chest flies, and then every week is something different because, they go in there and they say, I'm gonna hit chest. Okay, I'll hit chest. I'll just see whatever chest machines are open and I'll just do that. The issue is when you are changing things so much and you're here and then there, it's like, you're not giving your body an opportunity to really progress on any single one movement. And so much of making progress in the gym is literally progressive overload, right? Being consistent with the exercise that you're doing and tracking it and doing more sets or more reps, or adding, 5 or 10 pounds, or doing it with less rest, or really just making sure that you are tracking it, like whether it be in your phone or in a spreadsheet or something, you're writing it down, you write down what you did so that the next workout you can go back and you can kind of see and then maybe add a little bit more to it. And that's really gonna force you to make gains, right? Because when you are seeing that progress, it's gonna be really hard to not put on muscle when literally you're seeing that you are improving on all these lifts, right? And you really wanna make sure that you're staying consistent with it. Now, one thing that is going to happen is, let's say, I'm really working on my bench press and I'm benching, 2 days a week. What I might do is I'll do 3 sets of 12 with one weight. The next week I'll do 3 sets of 12 with a heavier weight. Eventually I'm gonna get to a point where I'm not able to do 3 sets of 12, in which case I might then go, with a heavier weight and work myself back up to 3 sets of 12, or I might do 4 sets of 12 with the previous weight, or maybe I'll do 3 sets of 10. I'll do a 5x5, or I'll do a set of 2 and then a set of 4 and then a set of 6. And it's just the variation in that regard, I think, is really, really good. Like, you want variation within that same exercise, right? Don't be jumping around from exercise to exercise, but you do want variation in how you track your reps and how you perform your reps, because you want a good combination between like the heavy lifting and then also like the higher rep work. And I find that having a really, really good balance of that is a really great way to make progress over the long term. And then let's say the next time that I do, a 5x5, it's gonna be heavier than the last time I did a 5x5. It's just really just a lot of different ways to do it. But let me show y'all here. So I'm not a big spreadsheet person. Like, I'm not really like that into like opening up my computer and having to like put this in and on a graph and whatever. I like to keep it simple. So I literally just track in my notes app. Let me show y'all. So in my notes app, I have this note, right? And in here is all the workouts I've done for the last 4 years. And I have every single exercise that I've done. I have every single rep scheme. I even have notes of like why it felt good, why it felt bad, things I would have done differently. Maybe I was dehydrated that day. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep that day. How does my body respond? And here's the thing. So much of seeing progress in the gym is learning what works for you. And what works for you might not work for me, and what works for me might not work for the next person. But when you track literally everything that you're doing in the gym, like this right here, this is evidence and this is data. This is teaching me so much about my own body, how my body reacts to certain exercises or certain splits, or certain types of rep schemes. And now I'm in a spot where I can continue to make progress even 5 years in, because I know the things that work for me specifically. And as long as I keep documenting that and I keep, writing that down, I can constantly be adapting my training to what my body needs for that specific time. But again, that takes like 3 or 4 years of consistency to really dial in and get to that point. But you're not gonna get there if you don't track anything, right? So tracking, and like I said, having as much control over as many variables as possible is absolutely crucial. Now, when it comes to exercise selection, There's really two different things that you could do here. I would say if you're in your first 1 to 3 years of lifting, you want to start your workouts with your main compound movement and really make sure that you're starting with you're just building up your strength, right? You want to be strong, you want to be fresh for that first exercise, since that first exercise is what you want to be progressively overloading over time. So on a chest day, I might start with a bench press. On a shoulder day, I might start with a shoulder press. Leg day, I'll start with squats, right? Back day, I might do deadlifts or a barbell bent over row, whatever it is. That's gonna be my main primary compound movement that I really wanna make sure that I'm progressing on over time. And as I go on with my workout, I'm gonna start doing a few more isolation exercises, right? So maybe on a chest day, I'll do a bench press, and then I'll do a dumbbell incline press followed by maybe dips or like a decline cable fly and then a chest fly, right? That way I hit my upper chest, my mid chest, my lower chest, and I'm finishing off with the flies, since that's just a pure isolation movement. That's not really gonna require much energy from like my body's system. Obviously it'll be taxing on the chest, but the goal is to be as strong as possible for that first movement and then really throw in like the higher rep isolation stuff later. But again, you always want to make sure that you're tracking everything to make sure that you're headed in the right direction. Now, the other thing that you could do, which I wouldn't recommend necessarily right off the bat, but it is something that I do a lot, is actually a pre-exhaust. And this is something that I talked about a few videos ago, which is where, like, for example, on a chest day, I might start with a chest fly and really get as much blood flow as possible going into my chest before going into the bench press. And so that's going to do a few things. It's going to, number one, it's gonna allow me to use less weight on the bench press, but it's gonna allow me to feel that weight a lot more because my chest is already activated and engaged. And from a muscle building perspective, I find this to be extremely effective. So like on a back day, I might do a lat pullover before I do my barbell bent over row or my pull-ups. On a leg day, I'll do literally leg extensions and leg curls before I do a squat. And it just makes the workout a lot more difficult. It forces you to go lighter, which then you have a reduced risk of injury. And it just is a great way to really spice up your workouts and continue to see progress. Now, the other thing with exercise selection is you want to find exercises that work specifically for you. And I think one thing that's not talked about enough is the mind-muscle connection. Having the ability to consciously contract a muscle. Like for me, my chest was always the hardest thing, right? But I can consciously contract my chest now, and I couldn't do that before. It took me a really, really long time to build the muscle to be able to do that. And it's years and years of really focusing on just using that chest and contracting that chest and really moving the weight with my chest that allowed me to get to this point. But if you're just starting out in the gym, it is very common to not feel anything. And that's because there's not much muscle there. And the really cool thing is that if you focus on using good form, eventually you're gonna build the muscle, and the bigger the muscle is, the easier it is to connect with that muscle. But along with that, there are certain movements that allow you to feel that mind-muscle connection better than others. So for example, if I'm doing a dumbbell incline press and I don't feel my chest no matter what I do, well then maybe switch to a machine incline press, or maybe switch to like some other exercise that is really gonna allow you to feel your chest, and you are gonna see way more gains from that exercise than you are on the one where you're not feeling it. So again, you wanna make sure that you're keeping track of how certain exercises feel, so that then you can figure out exactly what exercises work for you. Continue to do those exercises and you're gonna see a lot more progress. Don't feel like you have to bench press just because everybody says you bench, right? Just because you wanna say, when someone asks you how much you bench, right? Don't bench just because of that. You wanna bench because you feel your chest and you feel good muscle activation. And maybe the bench press isn't for you, right? And that's okay. There is not one size fits all. A lot of this is just figuring out what works for you specifically. That brings me to my next point, which is rest. And like I said earlier, when I jumped straight into that push-pull legs, it was so much volume, it was so much on my body that I wasn't really recovering. And one thing that I learned to incorporate actually pretty early on, which made a huge difference for me, was actually deload weeks. A deload week meaning I tone it back on the training. Maybe I do like less volume, I do less sets, less reps, or maybe I'll only go to the gym 2 times that week. Really just giving my body the space that it needs to grow, because when you're working out, you are literally stressing your body, and that stress can be cumulative, especially if you are training like 6 or 7 days a week, which by the way, if you are actually training in a way that's conducive towards muscle growth and training really, really hard, you shouldn't be able to train 7 days a week. If you're training 7 days a week and you feel fine week after week, you're not training hard enough, right? For me, Once I do more than 5 days a week, my body starts to tell me pretty quickly like, hey, you need to rest, you need to tone it back a little bit. Some of the indicators your body will tell you that you need to deload is if your joints feel achy, if your sleep isn't as good, your energy levels are a little bit lower. Those are all signs that your nervous system is just fatigued and you just gotta give your body a rest. And same goes for rest days, right? For me, I do 5 days a week because if I do 6, I'm cooked and I'm gonna have to take that deload week a lot sooner. But on those rest days, I'm doing cardio, I'm doing an active cardio day, always shooting for 10,000 steps. A lot of people are just going into the gym every day. And if you're doing that, you're not really training hard enough. You wanna make sure, like I said, you could literally make amazing gains even with just 3 days a week. 3 days a week and you're in and out in less than 75 minutes. If you're actually training properly, you do not need to be in the gym for that long. The last thing you wanna do is be in there doing 30 sets for one muscle group, doing a ton of junk volume, and then you think you're doing good work, but then you're not even recovering. Couple that with a diet that's subpar, you're just not gonna see progress, right? So definitely make sure that you're giving your body proper rest. So I guess my whole point with this entire long explanation is stay consistent with what you're doing, whatever it is. 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, upper lower split, you know, full body, whatever, Arnold split. I didn't even talk about the Arnold split, leg day, or like whatever. Freaking like whatever you do, stay consistent with it for at least maybe like 3 or 4 months, and at least until you plateau. Have as much control over as many variables as possible. Track everything, and if you do all these things, then you have as much control as possible over as many variables as possible. You are going to see progress faster than, you know, Joe Schmo over there who's going from every single machine into every machine and doing, you know, just like, you're gonna see progress, I promise you. Like when I approach my lifting, I approach it in a way where I wanna do so much and I wanna do such a good job of being very intentional with what I'm doing in the gym, so much so that progress, it is impossible to not make progress. That's how I approach the gym. Approach everything in life, but primarily the gym, like approach it in a way where it's impossible to not make progress. Right? When you're doing all these things and you have a plan and you're dialed in and you're consistent and you're doing it and you're doing it like week after week, month after month, it's pretty impossible to not see progress. And so that's kind of the main point I'm trying to make here. But with that being said, I hope some of y'all were able to get something out of this video. Guys, if you're interested in working with me one-on-one, either in person or online, make sure you click the application link in the description, and I would love to work with you, help you achieve your fitness goals. But with that being said, if you made it to the end of the video, I really, really appreciate you. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for weekly content, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.